first word was Arkan. At the end of 8 weeks, I'd finished the A's and begun the B's. For this, Mr. Ross rewarded me every Saturday with 4 golden sovereigns. Yesterday morning, however, I got a staggering blow indeed. Mr. Milford?
Yes, what can I do for you?
What's happened to Mr. Ross?
Mr. who?
Mr. Ross! Duncan Ross! In office number 4. He's gone. What's happened to him?
Just a moment, let me look him up in my files. Are you a customer of this, Mr. Ross?
I work for him. That is, I did up until this morning.
What did you do?
I copied the encyclopedia.
You copied?
The Encyclopedia Britannica.
Wouldn't it have been cheaper buying another encyclopedia rather than going to all the trouble of copying it?
You don't understand. That's the work the Red-Headed League required me to do.
Look here, my good man. If this is a joke, I fail to see the humor. If it isn't, it's my duty to inform you that office number 4 was rented temporarily to William Morris, an accountant. I never heard of Duncan Ross, nor the Red-Headed League in all my life, and I'm certain they never existed.
I got the home address of William Morris, but when I arrived there, it turned out to be a factory making ladies' unmentionables. No one had ever heard of William Morris or Duncan Ross.
My word, you really were on a wild goose chase, weren't you?
After that, I didn't know quite what to do. The whole experience was so embarrassing, I could hardly make myself tell it to Spaulding.
Then, quite naturally, you thought of me.
Oh, as I said before, I'm not a rich man. If I don't locate the League or find out what happened to them, I stand to lose £4 a week.
You don't stand to lose anything, Mr. Wilson. You can't lose something you didn't possess in the first place. And the story is probably a pack of lies in any case. Holmes. And if it isn't, you've no reason to complain. You're 30 pounds richer by your experience, not to mention the invaluable knowledge you've gained on every subject under the letter A. If I were you, Mr. Wilson, I'd be quite grateful and forget about the whole affair. Good day to you, sir.
Well, I hardly expected this kind of treatment.
If you should discover a corpse at your second-hand shop in an old cello case, you're perfectly welcome to return. In the meantime, I have an experiment to conclude.
I'm going to find out if firing a gun in a house is illegal. If it is, you can rely on me to report you.
Holmes, what on earth persuaded you to behave like that?
Well, yes, it was rather unseemly behavior, wasn't it, Watson?
Right.
But absolutely necessary, I assure you.
But why?
Well, if I tell him I was willing to take on his case, he'd probably give it away to the wrong party. Why burden him with the necessity of having to keep a secret?
Then you mean you're going to take the case?
I wouldn't miss finding out about the Red-Headed League for all the tea in India.
China, Holmes. Do you think it could be a prank, some sort of wild practical joke on Mr. Wilson?
Well, at £4 a week for 8 weeks, the joke would be on someone else.
It is a considerable sum, isn't it?
The case as I see it breaks down into 2 whys. I think I know the first why, but the second why eludes me.
Well, which is the why you know and which is the why you don't know?
Well, why was the League formed? Now, that's obvious. To keep Wilson out of the shop a certain number of hours a day. But why is the why that I want to know?
Well, why is the why that you want to... I see. You mean somebody tried to get Wilson out of his shop in order to steal something from him?
No. The case is too elaborate to justify stealing from so small a shop as Wilson's. No, the reason is bigger than that. Bigger than any of us might imagine.
Now, you're not going to start shooting again, Holmes.
No, but I get to take this with us.
Us?
Yes, you're interested in the case, aren't you?
I'm a doctor, Holmes.
Well, all the better if someone should get hurt.
This started out to be such a peaceful morning, and an old friend of mine was coming from India, and we were going to spend the day together. And now look what you've talked us into, the Red-Headed League.
Yes, exciting, isn't it?
Seems to be nobody here.
I wonder where it could be. I'll be right with you, gentlemen.
May I help? I'm sorry, I was occupied in the cellar. I hope I haven't kept you waiting.
Not at all. My friend here is interested in making a purchase.
Mm-hmm. Anything in particular?
Anything in, well, you never know what you might, oh, what's that?
That?
Yeah.
That is oh yes, this is fascinating. This is it's the essential part of the structure of a wild boar trap.
No, really?
Yes.
By Jove, a wild boar trap, eh? How very interesting. Now, and a very fine specimen as wild boar traps go.
Yes,
oh,
indeed.
yes,
Yes.
a very fine. Oh, indeed, reminds me of my day. There we were, all lined out in a row, as far as the eye could see.
Yes.
Down the hill came the enemy, and the Battle of Royal Burnett was on.
Yes, if you excuse me.
There we were, outnumbered 112 to 1. That was from the count after the battle, as you understand.
Yes, I understand perfectly.
Charge, they shouted, as down the hill they came, the hordes of heathen, at 112 to 1. And from that moment I became a collector, and I've been a collector ever since. You understand that, of course?
Oh, yes, but that is a quite perfectly natural reaction.
It's 1 o'clock.
It's 1 o'clock. What?
Yes, 1 o'clock, our engagement with the Colonel.
The
You
Colonel?
remember? The one who led you in the charge.
Oh, of course, yes. Well, I hope you'll keep that for me, will you?
Well, there's been a fearful run on wild boar traps lately, but I'll do my best.
Thank you, thank you. Thanks so much.
Good afternoon.
Well, what did you discover? The knees of Spaulding's trousers show considerable wear.
What does that mean?
That's a great deal. Let me have your stick for a minute.
What are you doing?
Well, no time to explain now, but a considerable crime is in contemplation. And since today is Saturday, we may have some difficulty in preventing it.
What kind of a crime?
A bank robbery.
What?
Shh, shh, shh. Meet me at the side entrance of the Westminster County Bank at 10 o'clock sharp.
Yes, is that the bank that's going to be...
Yes, yes, yes. At 10 o'clock sharp, remember?
The basement vaults of the Royal Westminster Bank, as you can see, they are impregnable.
Why are you so sure that the bank's going to be robbed, Holmes?
Because the knees of a man's trousers were badly worn.
I can't see how they can possibly get in here.
Is that the gold?
Yes. We had occasion some months ago to strengthen our reserves, and so we borrowed 30,000 Napoleons from the Bank of France.
Word must have leaked out, if Mr. Holmes' deductions are correct.
Gentlemen, we must prepare ourselves. As soon as Mr. Wilson goes to sleep, they will make attempts to get in.
Who are they? Get back. It's all right. Hey, jump!
All right, Spaulding, your bank robbing days are over.
So I see. I fancy my pal got away all right, though.
There are 3 policemen waiting for him at the other end.
You seem to have done things very, very, very neatly. I must compliment you.
But I feel obliged to reciprocate. Your red-headed league was very inventive indeed.
Here. You were the one who came into the shop this afternoon. You came with...
With me?
Ah. I thought there was something very, very queer. You don't look like a collector at all.
He helped to collect you, didn't he? I think you'd better come along with me.
I don't know how the bank can repay you, Mr. Holmes.
I've been more than amply repaid, Mr. Merriweather, by having one of the most unique experiences of my career. However, there is one thing you could do for me.
Name it.
Well, it's...
Anything, Mr. Holmes.
I'm a regular depositor at your bank, Mr. Merriweather, and I should be eternally grateful if you could do something about your pens. I've yet to find one of them that work. Come along, Watson.
What I shall never understand is how you suddenly knew there would be a bank robbery.
Well, if you remember, when we visited the second-hand shop, Spaulding was in the cellar.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't pay much attention to it at the time, but later on I noticed that the knees of his trousers were badly worn, as if he'd spent some time kneeling, doing some sort of burrowing work. But burrowing where? Perhaps from the cellar to the next building. The moment the thought occurred to me, I whisked you outside and surprised you by tapping on the pavement with your stick.
You certainly did. Oh, I'll just go and see who it is. Hello, come on in, Inspector.
Good evening, Dr. Watson. I hope it's not too late to make a call.
Of course not. Come right on.
Well, I saw the light was on, and I just thought I'd drop in.
Ah, how are you, Inspector? Now, make yourself at home.
Oh,
Draw a chair.
Thank you very much indeed.
Cup of tea?
Yes, please. Well, by the time the newspapers come out with a report of your exploits tomorrow, Holmes, you'll be a hero.
Oh, well, I shall try and remain humble through it all.
Yes, the whole of London. Except, of course, Mr. Wilson. Unless I miss my guess, he wants me still to arrest you.
Arrest me? What for?
Well, he didn't like the way you treated him last night, you know. And then, of course, he complains that... Oh, no, it's too ridiculous. Still, I think you'd enjoy hearing about it. He claims that you were firing a revolver in this house. You know it's against the law, don't you? But who in their sober senses would do such a thing?
Yes, it does sound very implausible, doesn't it?
Yes, that's exactly what I told him. I mean, people just don't do things like that, do they?